Welcome to Home and Away, a World Cup special episode hosted by myself, Graham Spice, and Glenn Cowie, who's unfortunately not well. But I am joined by returning guest Ben McFadyean. A lot to get into, so let's get into it.
Let me be the one that you turn to, someone you can rely on, closer each day, home and away.
So welcome back, Ben. Good to have you back. Our returning German football writer and the host of the Borussia Dortmund Fan Club podcast. It's good to have you back again. How are you?
Great stuff. Thank you so much for asking me on. That's very kind of you. And longing to talk about football and the World Cup. So much been going on, and seems like an endless chain of thought. So good to be invited on. Thank you so much.
More than welcome. I think what's really good for me is that for all the noise there was around the World Cup before the start of the tournament, that actually the football's the thing that most people are talking about again. I think that's really healthy. I'm really pleased about that. And actually most of the fan experiences seem to have been predominantly positive as well, from what I've seen from all the media and attention that the various fan groups have had around the tournament. So that's a good thing, I think. I'm not sure if that's because of the organisation or in spite of, but it is good to see that the focus is very much firmly on the football again.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely. I'm quite surprised in some ways that the noise about the ticket prices and also politicization, if you like, the involvement of the Republicans and maybe El Presidente has been far less than people expected. And actually, the Americans have actually accepted and embraced European fan culture and African fan culture, Latin American fan culture, and so on, and that we've actually seen people really being able to freely celebrate. And there was a wonderful letter today from the owner of the Boston Red Sox. He had a massive incoming visit from the Scotland fans, the Tartan Army, to one of the baseball games, and he wrote back to them and wrote back to Steve Clark and the SFA and said, that they've never seen anything like it, and they're absolutely welcome back. So I think, it's good to see the football is the main thing, and it's good to see that the fans are able to express themselves, and we've seen lots of examples of that, which we can chat about.
Yeah, I think I've also seen in appearing in social media, lots of Americans, or a lot of the ones that I'm seeing are not what I would call the existing football fans. So that people who follow Premier League teams or the MLS, or that I know. Well, I think I'm connected to a lot of those people through the podcast. And so I know there are pockets of support already, quite big pockets, but it's not like universal. But I'm starting to see people who probably don't watch any football outside of the World Cup showing more interest in it, which I think is quite good for the game over there as well. Maybe it could lead to some growth in the sport as a whole. But we'll see, I guess. It will be interesting to see what happens after the World Cup's finished. I guess the one thing I was just going to say that you mentioned about the politicization. I think there's still a lot of nervousness around the administration about the president being at the final and presenting. Depending on who the fan groups are that are there, that could be quite an uncomfortable evening for him if he does do that. I've heard lots of stories about what might happen.
Definitely football is on the up in the United States. The editor I write for, James, is a top guy on the MLS and football in the United States, and there's it's very much up and coming. And I think the success of Inter Miami and our very own David Beckham and so on, and what he's achieving and the players that he's attracting and so on. And in some ways I kind of preferred the North American Soccer League of the 1970s, having interviewed some of the players that played back then, and the types of guys like Gerd Muller and Pele and so on. And it was a sensational football league, the New York Cosmos and the Fort Lauderdale Strikers and teams that were out there. But in some ways, I think that the MLS is a successful product. And at least, they've got good numbers of people going, and they've increasing the leagues and so on. And it seems to be going quite well. And I think this World Cup is I mean, they've announced that it's record numbers of ticket sales. Personally, I can't really imagine how they're achieving these record ticket sales, because everybody I know that's either in Mexico, Canada, or the US, if they didn't travel with tickets, are not able to buy them. So I don't know whether this is an awful lot of corporate people who are getting tickets, etc. But of the half a dozen or so people I know who are over there right now, one of them is a former Germany national team coach who obviously, for obvious reasons, got invited to some of the games,
Yeah.
the Germany games. And then another one is actually with the leading tabloid newspaper as a reporter, Christian. And then the other one, basically, she got 2 tickets through work, and that's it. And I know a number of people in Canada, Mexico, and the US who would love to get tickets and are asking me for tickets, and I'm not even at the World Cup. So,
Yeah.
I think it's been much harder than ever, and it's been a very strange situation with the sheer cost of buying tickets, plus also the cost of travel and everything else. But yeah, so far on a footballing level, as you say, it's been a good World Cup so far, really pretty engaging games, and yeah, some strange kickoff times, but otherwise,
Oh, I think
decent
that's
football. Sure.
it's not even the. I think if all the matches were around the same time, it might feel manageable. Like for instance, when the World Cup was in Japan and Korea, the matches were all
Okay.
roughly in the same time, but the variation in kickoff times is nuts. We have games on at 5 o'clock in the afternoon and 4 o'clock in the morning. It's like an 11-hour
Absolutely.
swing. So,
Absolutely, yeah, I think so.
but there's still
And
a lot of people are still watching. I think it's still
Mhm.
it's still getting good viewing figures. I think as good as you would expect for
Yeah.
early hours of the morning matches. But
Yeah, I usually hit the sack by about midnight, and to be fair, that means that I've missed particularly the Cape Verde games, which I really wanted to see, and I'll probably miss tomorrow night's one as well. And yeah, watching highlights just isn't the same thing, is it?
no, it isn't. But I guess if you're trying to hold down a job and watch as much of the football as you can, something has to give eventually, doesn't it?
Yes.
So yeah, I've obviously got plans tomorrow. I'm going around with friends. We're watching the England game, which I guess is the last group game for us.
Hence the shirt. Very
Yes.
nice 1982 shirt.
Yes, it's the only English shirt I have actually. I don't really have a lot of international shirts. My son's got more than I have, but
It looks like an authentic one.
yeah, I think it was
Is it the
it is it should be Admiral, shouldn't
Ambassador brand? Admiral.
It was
That's it. Admiral.
Yeah.
I remember now.
It hasn't got the Admiral logo, so I'm assuming it's not. But yeah, I think ironically it's the easiest of the 3 games that England probably would have faced in that group. Although we seem to struggle against the lesser teams, probably because of the way they set up against us, because their expectation is that they're going to have to soak up a lot of pressure. They'll probably be fairly defensive, I would imagine, and that's really what we struggle with Ghana. I felt that we really struggled to break them down. But how do you feel how England progressed so far? I've been quite impressed with Tuchel. I think he's spoken really well. I think the players are obviously back behind him. And it's been interesting to watch him on the sidelines during matches and remonstrating with the players and trying to get them to do the things he's expecting them to do. It's been quite an interesting watch.
Well, Graeme, I was lucky enough to make a documentary about the life of Thomas Tuchel last year for Sky Television and Amazon Prime, and looking into his life, interviewing people who've met him all along the way, and it was really a thrilling experience. I think that obviously, as a Borussia Dortmund fan, I've had quite a bit of exposure to him, but also seen him on the sidelines for Bayern Munich over the years as well. I mean, he comes across kind of, whenever he's in an international setting, he comes across a lot less brittle and a lot more kind of laid back and engaging, I think. So it's kind of good to see that, and it's good to see that he seems to get on well with the majority of the England players. I suspect perhaps, it could be said that there are some issues maybe with Jude Bellingham, is what we read in the press. But on the same note, it just seems that maybe Jude Bellingham, a former Borussia Dortmund player, has basically just developed a lot as a player, and since the time, and it's just simply a matter of Tuchel, leaving out big star players. He's left out a number of star players going out to the United States and Canada, Mexico, like Harry Maguire and so on. So, and Cole Palmer as well. And I think there's the brave decisions, but I mean, he seems to have got the right balance and certainly pretty exciting the first couple of games. And I think Croatia, particularly England, showed what they're capable of. And I mean, a lot of the Ghanaian players remember our Premier League players like Antoine Semenyo and similar, and they know. Yeah, they know our league. They know how we think. They watch the Premier League week in, week out, and at the end of the day, also the coach is an ex Manchester United coach, and
Carlos Queiroz,
basically Carlos Queiroz. So they know. They could anticipate very well what was going to happen, and I think that it was an extremely good defensive performance. But ultimately, it's disappointing for England. But then Graeme, I mean, 4 points after 2 games at a World Cup.
Yeah.
I mean, just look at FIFA, look at, for example, Turkey's performances, or even I think South Korea would be fair to say.
Yeah.
A World Cup is about a sustained mental attitude, a sustained psychological ability to suck up the pressure and put on consistent performances against the very best in the world. And you have to be a tournament team. It's challenging. It's very, very challenging. And I think that too much expectations, like we saw with the Turkey team, it just basically, sometimes it's too much. It's just too much. And I think they've had their breakthrough moment against United States. But ultimately, they'll go home very, very disappointed from this World Cup.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely fair. And I think a lot of this kind of tournament football is about arriving at the right moments, isn't it? It's like it's just something that the German national team's always been really good at. It's that they might be slow starters, but when it comes to the crunch times in tournaments, they absolutely rise to the occasion. And we've seen that on repeat in history, maybe not in the recent years, but it was always, whenever we watched the tournament, you knew no matter how the Germans started, they were going to be at the latter stages of tournaments. And even if you look across this tournament, there's a number of the bigger seeded teams, you would say, who didn't have good starts. They dropped points in their first matches, and so we're not the only team that's not without a flawless set of results so far. And I just think it's about you've got to be there at the end of it. And I think this last game is important because it dictates a lot on our route through the remains of the tournament. So I think a win's important for the England team. But it's not the end of the world if we don't win it. We'll be in the knockout stages, but it would be better if we did.
Well, I mean, you've got to beat Panama, haven't you? I mean, let's face it. I can't remember when was the last World Cup we played against them, but I'm sure it was 6-0. Do you remember when it was? Was it
in Brazil?
Possibly Brazil. Yeah, I think it might have been Brazil or Russia. Yeah, and we beat them 6-0. I don't think it's going to be as high as that this time, but I mean, what the main thing is that Thomas Tuchel's got a big enough squad to do squad rotation, and I think he's got good players, a number of different options on every single position, and also the ability to change and switch around different formations and so on. I mean, we've got really a depth of squad here, and I think it's amongst the best. So I don't think the Ghana game is going to ultimately be demonstrative. It's going to exemplify anything. I think it's just an example of where England have basically been held back, and they were able to put in a very powerful defensive strategy, which was able to kind of gag the England team and gag Harry Kane. Basically, I don't see that happening too much more. The way they qualified was absolutely sensational. We didn't lose a single game. Let's face it. But I feel that that's also put on very high expectations, hasn't it? Let's be frank.
We do it every time though, to ourselves
absolutely.
As much as anything.
Yeah.
I would say that at the end of the day, I know there's a lot of negativity around it generally in the media and on social media around the performance, but ultimately we didn't lose. Although I do feel that we got really lucky with some of the refereeing decisions and the VAR decisions. There was a couple of times where I thought we'd given away penalties and possibly could have given away red cards, but we're still in it. We still got a point out of the game, so it's not the end of the world.
No, absolutely not. I think England will put in a very good performance against Panama. and then we'll just have to see basically who we end up playing against. The pressure is on, but that's because basically the Premier League is the number one commercially most successful league in the world, and arguably one of the best ones, if not the best one. I mean, certainly a lot of people here, maybe people in the Bundesliga might disagree, although there are numerous fans of the English football in Germany, I can tell you that much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess in terms of the other home nation still in the tournament currently, as of 11 o'clock, is Scotland. Their last group game, they had a loss against Brazil, which they left themselves too much to do in that match, I think. And I didn't think they were very good either. It wasn't a great performance. They basically played into Brazil's hands, and I think they're as good as home. The chances of them making it through as a third place team are pretty slim, I think. But I think it depends on the remaining matches over the next 2 days, I think, isn't it? I think the last group games are tomorrow. Oh no, Sunday, I think they are. But yeah. It's a shame that they've the off the field performance by the fans has been far superior to the players on the pitch.
Yeah,
so,
you got a good point there. I remember 2017 at the London Palladium, representing Dortmund at the FIFA Best of World Football Awards for best fans, basically, and we were nominated for, and ultimately we didn't win it. Actually, it was Celtic that won it, which was ironic, but. Yeah, I mean, like the BBB fans, Scotland fans are immensely popular, and for all the right reasons, basically. We've seen the way they've gone round cleaning up in the stadiums after themselves, which I think is a really cool trend. And also, just basically, I mean, I remember them. I was for a month at the Euro 2024 working with BBC Radio Scotland, and it was absolutely brilliant. I mean, they were there all the way right through to the final, whether they'd been knocked out or not. They were always a heavy presence in all the towns, in their kilts and so on, and having a great time, and were very, very popular. I hooked up down there in Munich with the Alba FA, which is the Gaelic-speaking traditional language of Scotland, that their football team, and they played a game against Bavaria, and it was just really fun to see how well received they were, and just really, really an enjoyable experience. So I think America, particularly, will be very much it'll be a lesser football experience without the Scottish fans, but at the same time, there's lots of other incredibly cool fans out there. I think of the Congolese fans, for example, with the it's nutty, really. I mean, some of it's been absolutely mad and wonderful as well. Just watching Ecuador, Germany yesterday, how incredibly passionate the Ecuador fans were. Just absolutely brilliant.
The emotion with the coach and the players at the end was really something, wasn't it?
Something else, yeah.
Maybe we can switch to that match. I didn't catch all of it, so I think I saw some of the early. But I was travelling yesterday, so I didn't get back till quite late last night. But what did you think of the match?
Yeah, well, again, Scotland, I think, are out, and I agree with you on that one. Germany, well, good question. Well, I think on the whole so far, I mean, they've been good, they've been strong. I didn't expect them to be as strong as they are, but I think it will be fair to say that one of the weaknesses of Germany has been at times to overestimate themselves. And I think that we see that with Bundesliga teams like Dortmund and Bayern, but we also see it with the Nationalmannschaft, the national team, that they basically go into some games expecting to win, and then sometimes they get caught out. And I think yesterday was such an example. But I think it was overall a very good game where Ecuador absolutely had to win. Germany had already qualified to go through, and so therefore perhaps they weren't trying as hard. But on the whole, a loss like that against a side where you would perceive yourself to win is not good for the psyche. It's not good for the confidence, and it's also not good for the levels of interest which had been rising very steadily and increasingly in Germany. German fans tend to go into a lot of these tournaments in the last 10 years or so simply on the back of the failures at Russia and Qatar, with a kind of suck it and see kind of approach, and I think that's exactly what they went into it this time. And then off the back of two very, very sound results, German fans have been pretty enthusiastic this time. The stunning kit that they're wearing this season, which is Adidas's last kit before Nike take over,
I hate the
is
I hate the
yeah.
Nike kits. The
Oh
Adidas
yeah,
kits
yeah.
are always the best ones.
Yeah, Adidas is wonderful. Yeah. I definitely prefer Adidas, and I prefer Adidas over Puma, even though I shouldn't be saying that as a Borussia Dortmund fan, since we've been with Puma for more than a decade.
Really?
But
Okay.
yeah, they're very tasteful. Although I'm not really sure about these very thick stripes that they've got in the current World Cup. Even the referees seem to have these shirts with really, really thick
Yeah.
1970s style stripes for the Adidas
Yeah.
shirts. But the shirts are selling like hotcakes. There's been enormous interest. I think Julian Nagelsmann's done some really exciting stuff, particularly Dennis Undav, who all Brighton Hove Albion fans will know, many Premier League fans will know, has been a great joker. They were missing a striker. Players like Niklas Füllkrug haven't really worked. And Kai Havertz and Florian Wirtz, Undaf's been the man, basically. So as long as he keeps scoring, I think there's a very good chance that Germany can keep winning. But
Yeah.
as to how far they go, I suspect if they get through the next round, which they will, France will probably be, particularly after today's performance, will be a dead end. I think I can't really see them going any further.
Yeah. Although I think the result today, the Norway-France result, I think it was 4-1 in the end, wasn't it? It has to be taken with the knowledge that
Yeah, it was 4-1.
Norway made 10 changes. So it was that they'd already almost given up before they even started. I think they decided that they were better off resting the players because I think their next match is like 4 days later or something.
Yeah, good
So
point. Good point.
It
Good
does.
strategy.
It looks better for France. Although Dembele scored 3 in the first 30 minutes, I think. So they're no mugs, that's for sure. And you can only play what's in front of you at the end of the day. But
I'm a player that Dortmund fans love to hate, Dembele, just simply because of the way he left the club. But I think he deserves every bit of his Ballon d'Or, and sensational player and sensational side at PSG and so on, as Dortmund have found out at their own expense repeatedly. So
yeah.
At the end of the day,
and
I think France are going to be right up there.
Yeah, I think they're one of the best balanced teams. They've got it in every area. I quite fancy them to go really deep into the tournament again.
Oh, absolutely, 100%, great, 100%. I think France will be in the final. Yeah,
I guess then from the other kind of heavily seeded teams, like the Argentina, easily through to the knockout stages, and I'm still amazed that this is like Messi's 6th World Cup, and he looks like a teenager still. I don't understand where he finds the energy from. He's just a superhuman. There's something completely different about him.
Well, if there are two people that I find spookily superhuman, one of them's Elon Musk and his trillion pound, whatever, $1 trillion fortune, and Ryan and young Leo Messi there. I've seen Leo Messi play at the Camp Nou or No Camp at Barcelona against Borussia Dortmund a few years back when he was still there, whenever that was, 2019, I think. And it was phenomenal watching him. I mean, the speed, the pace, the style, the technical ability. Again, he was at the World Football Awards as well, but I didn't get to speak to him, although a friend of mine did. And he doesn't do quite so well on the speaking front, but then perhaps if you speak Spanish, you're better off. So I would have been a better person for him to speak to. But yeah, I mean, absolutely phenomenal. And in many ways, probably wasted on the MLS, because he could probably still do a fair amount in a European league. That's the disadvantage of following the Bundesliga, Graeme, is that you very seldom get to see that level of superstars, with the exception of Harry Kane, which I know you as a Spurs fan are probably not that happy about. I don't know.
Disappointed, I think would be, but I think that he earned the right to go and win some trophies. Unfortunately, the season after he left us, we went and won one after all, but yeah, I think that we talked about this in the last episode when we talked about Messi after the first match, and he's gone on. I think he's got 5 goals and 3 assists or something, or 4 assists already in 2 matches. It's like, it's something else. And what we were talking about was I saw him play as well at Wembley when Tottenham were playing at Wembley when the stadium was being built. We played Barcelona in a group game in the Champions League. And then we lost 4-1, and I've never felt as happy as I did after the match, just to have seen him play, because it was otherworldly. he's just something. Just we've been blessed, I think, in the period in football where we've had some really great players, and with him and Ronaldo, of course. And it's coming to an end, that era. I think I keep saying that about Messi, and he's 41, isn't he? I think, and he's still performing at the highest level. But yeah, we've been very lucky, I think, to have seen those kind of players.
Yeah, that would be another team that I would expect to be in the last four. Frankly, Argentina.
Yeah.
And France. And frankly, if I got this wrong, forgive me, but I would expect England to be right up there as well. So, yeah, I mean, Argentina, well, they're defending champions. They're better than I expected. But to be fair, so are Brazil. They're better than I expected. I mean, they only qualified as fifth best. I
agree,
watched them against. I watched their games, and they're a lot better than I expected. So, but we'll just have to wait and see, basically.
I have a Brazilian friend in London, Alex, who's been a guest on the pod before, and he won't watch the national team. He did watch I think he went to watch the Scotland game last night, whenever it was, with a friend, but mostly because the friend wanted to see Scotland play against Brazil, not because he particularly wanted to watch Brazil. He's really anti I think he feels like, and it's very obvious if you look at the team. This Brazil team is an absolute pale imitation of the teams of maybe 20 years ago. It's very workmanlike. I think, unfortunately, all the players have played in Europe and had all of the kind of Latin flair that we expect from Brazilian players beaten out of them. There are players, obviously, but it's a much more workmanlike Brazil team than some of the teams that we've seen in our lifetime. So he's not a big fan.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, coming back to your shirt, I mean, España 82 for me was the greatest Brazil team that I've ever watched. Players like Falcao and Cerezo and Socrates and so on, and Zico, and I mean, absolutely astonishing team. That's the team that will remain with me forever, and the best Brazilian team that never won anything. Yeah, I mean, I think it is workmanlike, but on the other hand, Carlo Ancelotti is a great winner with clubs, and I think that whilst the Brazilians I've spoken to in the media realm have complained about Ancelotti and perhaps said that they'd rather see a Brazilian coach. At the end of the day, if there isn't a Brazilian coach right now that's up to it, I mean, in a way, I think Ancelotti's, I think we can all agree. I mean, he's one of the best coaches of the last 25, 30 years. And I think that has to be. So, yeah, I mean, Brazil for sure deserve to be where they are. And talking about individual players, Vinicius Jr, his hat trick this week, absolutely phenomenal, phenomenal. And but of course, living here in Bournemouth, I'm a bit disappointed that Evan Nilsson didn't get chosen. But maybe that's just local patriotism, local little Dorset thinking. Oh yes, Evan Nilsson, he's the man. AFC Bournemouth. You got to pick one of the cherries, mate.
Yeah, it's funny. And then I guess looking at while we have the Portuguese-speaking team, Portugal themselves look comfortable. I still think that I think they've one of the best midfields in the tournament. Still, it's basically PSG's two centre midfielders who've obviously have won back-to-back Champions Leagues. I think the one thing that limits them is the Ronaldo question. I think he obviously scored 2 goals in the last match, but I think he's one of those dilemmas that you for the manager especially, if you leave him out, then that's the story. And then if you play him, are you limited because he's obviously not as fast as he was. He's not as I don't think it's been as effective as, for instance, as Messi. Messi still runs that team, whereas Ronaldo's I think isn't quite as influential. Maybe in a dressing room he is, but
I agree.
I feel like I still think they're a really strong team, even defensively as well. But that I think that one position it's a super important one as well, right? But yeah, we'll see. I still fancy them to go quite a long way, but maybe they'll come up short.
Yeah, I think they're going to come up short. To be frank, I don't think this is the best Portugal team that we've seen for some time, and also I think that apart from the game a couple of days ago, I think that they've been fairly mediocre, and Ronaldo is showing his age, and I think that's only a fair assumption. And I'm not really sure about this Portugal team. I'm not really sure. I mean, I think there's just so much sheer quality in sides like France and England on the right day, and also Argentina and potentially Brazil as well. But then there's a few dark horses out there as well. I mean, I was very surprised at Norway losing that badly. But then on the other hand, as you said, I mean, it was very smart to leave the top players out and rest the players and just test the rest of the squad,
Yeah.
I've interviewed players over the past decade who have traveled to World Cups and not actually got a game. And it is very, very disappointing, I think, to be at a World Cup and actually not get to play at all.
Yeah.
So, I mean, at the end of the day, what makes a team really successful is the ability to integrate the subs as well and give them a feeling that they're needed, they're wanted, and they're part of the team, and that they can make a difference and then come on and score and so on, like Dennis Undav is doing for Germany. So, I mean, I wouldn't discount Japan and Norway in terms of being able to go reasonably far in this tournament. But you know what? Team I'm really excited by are Cape Verde, to be fair. I mean, I watched them qualify ahead of Cameroon and Angola, and only losing one game, and then going straight in there and playing unbelievable football, absolutely unbelievable football. And people keep putting their finger on Vozinha the time, the goalkeeper, and saying, it's all about him. But I don't think so. I think it's a squad effort, and the vibes, the energy that they're bringing, the commitment, the ability is so exciting. I mean, these are the classic underdogs, and I'm going to do my absolute utmost to stay up tonight for their game against Saudi Arabia and see,
It's the big one.
see at least one of their games. Yeah,
I think they need at least a point.
They'll get a point. I watched the Saudi game against Spain, and it was appalling, absolutely appalling. Saudi Arabia are going to need to pull their boots up ahead of the 2034 World Cup.
Yeah, I think Spain. Obviously, Spain look comfortable as well. They look they're one you'll expect to see in at least the quarterfinals, and just depending on how those matches play out. But and then Sweden are through as well, I think, aren't they as well? So they're a strong team. They've got but I don't expect them to be.
Well, they got hammered by Holland, didn't they? 5-1.
Yeah,
that was pretty awful.
And the Dutch look strong as well. And they seem to have the Dutch team traditionally are not great tournament players, and it's not that they're not good players individually, but they've always struggled to have a harmonious dressing room because there's been a lot of infighting between the players and the coaches, and also in the past. So it feels they're pretty together this time, and that could make it difficult for other people. I think they might be a bit light in terms of attacking players. I know they've scored a lot of goals, but they're not. They don't have a kind of like standout, I don't think. But maybe that's a good thing. Maybe a strong team is what's needed rather than relying on individuals to score for them.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the exciting bit about Cabo Verde, is that they are a second Portuguese team, basically, like Curaçao are a second Dutch team, etc. And like Ireland were traditionally basically a second England team, if you like. And when it's worked, and the pressure is off, and they're doing great. But in respect of Holland, I agree with you entirely. I think that they will implode eventually. It's going to happen sooner or later, unfortunately. Oranje is always very exciting. Again, they're one of those teams that have gone out with insane numbers of fans, and they're really lighting up the place, and fantastic to see that, and so on. But I have my doubts as to whether either Sweden or Holland can actually go far in this tournament, and I stand to be corrected. But I do entirely agree with you. Some of the playing has been, very exciting, and it's good. It's good to see it. I mean, it's always good to see it. Basically, my mind always drifts back to the England 4-1 against Holland at the 1996 World Cup, and Gazza's extraordinary goal. He lives around here in Bournemouth, where I am, and I haven't run into him yet. But
no, it's funny that, because when I grew up, when I was a teenager, actually, probably like the late 80s, early 90s, when he was playing for Tottenham, he lived very close to me, and I used to see him in the pub, which you'd be unsurprised to hear.
Brilliant.
And like there was days when he wouldn't have played because he was ill, and then he was in the pub that evening. So he had a problem. Clearly had a problem, but
Bless him.
yeah,
What a gifted player! What
incredible
generations
player.
of gifted players! Is this the World Cup where finally all comes together for England under a German manager? How do you feel about that, Graham? Honestly, a German manager leading the Three Lions to victory.
I kind of don't mind it, and I think that the thing is as well that we've become normalized to it because the Premier League is so multicultural. Like we're used to foreign coaches, foreign players. For me, it doesn't, and I'm not a particularly xenophobic for international football either. I think we've had Swedish, Italian coaches as well, and it's not an issue for me. Ultimately, the players are the thing that makes us the England team. The coach is just an enabler for the players, so I don't have an issue with it at all. And he's a good coach. I mean, we're very lucky to have him. I think if we were to have made a decision to just take English coaches, the selection of coaches that are available at the moment is pretty slim pickings. I would have said it would have been probably someone like Potter is what would have been one of the obvious ones, but he's the Sweden coach, or who's the guy at Newcastle?
Well, that's a good point. Actually, I hadn't thought of that. That is a good point.
Yeah.
There's an English manager on the touchlines at the Sweden national team, which is not the first time. Roy Hodgson was of course Sweden coach as well,
and Switzerland,
and
he was the Swiss. He was a Swiss coach in '96. It was the first group game we played. I remember it because it happened just before for two of the games I was out of the country, but I watched that one before we went.
Yeah, I have to say, Graham, in some ways, this World Cup feels like USA '94 did. It feels very, very far away and very remote. And it's not just because it's played in different time zones or it's played in the United States or the sporting culture is so different, although the Premier League, I think, is adapting to that sporting culture. A lot of the razzmatazz, the hydration breaks with the adverts and the music, I mean, particularly the music that they suddenly play in these hydration breaks. You've got music right up until a kickoff. Then you've got music in the breaks, trying to keep it all together. And it's either techno music or rock music. And it starts to feel for me a little bit at times like football in COVID, where we had piped in audiences and so on. It feels almost as like, particularly the flow of the games being disturbed, by these hydration breaks. I mean, it's almost become like a different sport. Not only have you got VAR, where you're not sure whether to celebrate or not, but now you've got these breaks which basically interrupt the entire flow of the game. And it starts to become, if you add in the halftime show that's proposed for the World Cup final, what they're going to have, God, it's starting to feel like something very, very different. And it's not really football as we know it. So I feel as if this World Cup, to a lot of people, no matter how much it's in the media, feels very, very far away. The other thing that surprised me a lot is not so many kind of parties or watch parties or big screenings or whatever here in England. I remember a World Cup, I think it was in Japan, when being in Trafalgar Square for the England games with thousands and thousands of people.
Yeah.
And I haven't really noticed that this much at this time. I mean, I was out in Germany last week and I found that not everyone in Germany's kind of tapped into it. And then the same thing here in England. I mean, yes, for the England games, but not so much for the other games. So here in Bournemouth is a very international city with, people living here from Colombia, Brazil, Spain, etc. We've got vast numbers of people who live here from different countries. And, I haven't noticed like pubs being full of, Spanish local residents wanting to watch the games or whatever. And, I don't really know why this World Cup feels so very far away, but it didn't start off from the best premise in terms of all this commercialization and the ticket prices and so on, which made it feel, difficult and inaccessible. And now, I mean, I don't know, but I find it's slightly different than in other years. And that's a bit disappointing in a way, particularly because of England. Because if we do win, then I wonder where the nation can fully get behind that, really, really with full enthusiasm.
I think that you're right. That there's what FIFA always do this, right? Every tournament, they come up with some harebrained stuff to try and modernize the game, and this hydration breaks, which they say is for the benefit of the players, but if a player's playing in a stadium with a closed roof and it's air conditioned, why do they need a hydration break? It's absolutely, and you know exactly why it is. It's because the advertising slots for those breaks over the whole tournament are worth $250 million. That's why they're doing it. It's absolutely nothing to do with the players at all. And because even when the players have had a drink and they're ready to resume, they have to stop and wait for the adverts to finish, which is ridiculous. So yeah, I hate it. I hate everything that they've tried to do to it. I hate the music at half time. I'm a traditionalist Bovril and pie guy. That's what half time's for. It's for going to the toilet, grabbing a drink and a pie. Not. I don't want to see Shakira for the 400th time. She's been to more World Cups recently than the Italy team. It's just insane. I hate all of that. I hate the music especially. And I've been to a number of like big American sporting events, and it's all that razzmatazz. I went to see a game in Denver at the Mile High Stadium. I saw the Broncos against the Patriots, and had really good seats. But the whole thing, it's basically an hour of American football with 4 hours of waiting around for the TV adverts to finish. Just not for me. Not for me.
It doesn't make any sense.
No, and the one thing I'm really pleased about, and I thought it was for good reason, but I understand that it's not. I was really happy that the ITV decided not to show adverts during the hydration breaks. But I thought, well, that's really good. But then I found out that the reason it's to do with they are allowed a certain number of adverts per hour of television, and so they couldn't actually, because they cram, I don't know, 6 adverts into the halftime break and before the game, and that's into the coverage before and after the match. They cram a lot of ads in that actually they couldn't do the adverts during the hydration breaks because it would have exceeded the amount they were allowed to do. So it wasn't completely altruistic reasons that they did it. So, but at least they're not. And I also like the fact that they're planning to not show the halftime music for the final as well, and that both ITV and the BBC will do football analysis, which is absolutely what I want to see. I want to see someone. Emma Hayes has been absolutely brilliant in the ITV studios during the hydration breaks, talking about the football and the tactics. She's done a great job, and I think that's what we want to see more of. For me,
yeah,
I don't like this constant need to try and fiddle with the game and change it. We like it because it is the way it is, and it doesn't need changing, I don't think, but it doesn't stop them trying.
Well, there's an argument. I mean, we've had the last few days pretty much 40 degrees heat in England, which we haven't seen the likes of since the 1970s. Apparently, they're saying it's been the massive heat wave, and one of the hottest, and I found it quite oppressive, and I've read similar things about the United States and so on, and I'm actually surprised that unlike the Club World Cup, where there really were genuine issues with the heat and so on, I'm surprised that there hasn't been, and perhaps the hydration breaks have helped with that, certainly, being able to monitor players' health and so on, but there's no doubt that it's a very, very hot summer this year, and I mean, from that perspective, I think, anybody being very rational would accept that there is probably a need, and particularly, I mean, maybe it's strange that it wasn't introduced in Qatar. I don't remember it being Qatar. Do you remember it, Qatar?
No.
That being in the middle of the desert. But you know what? I mean, the one thing that's really surprised me is that there aren't more games in Canada. Basically, Canada have got a surprisingly few number of games,
and they didn't get a lot of premium.
What I would call
I wouldn't have called not a lot of premium matches either. So I think they kind of, I think they feel like that. And I think we had a couple of people on from the Toronto Tottenham Supporters Club, and we talked a bit about that, about their readiness for the tournament. And one of the guys, Paul Wing, he's the chair, I think, of the Supporters Club. The last time we had him on at the end, we did our end of season, where we had like 8 people on. I think it was like we almost put a team together. He was, at the time he did the recording with us, he was in Vancouver, so he'd seen the preparations in Vancouver and in Toronto, and I think there was some frustration that, I mean, they were promised a lot, and I think a lot had come to pass, that it wasn't the way they'd expected it to be. Like the stadium enhancements in Toronto, it's basically like a pile of scaffolding to get the extra seats in. It's not something that's going to be be there after the tournament, which is unfortunate. But I think it's far more temperate. I think it would have been better to have some more matches there. And also, I wanted more matches in Mexico because it's a proper footballing country. And like for me, I want to see all the matches in the Azteca because it's like a cathedral of football. It's an incredible venue for football.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Whereas I find those big American NFL stadiums to be a bit soulless. They are impressive feats of engineering. Their facilities are incredible, but they're not. Just don't do it for me. And I guess I suppose I'm a fine one to talk, but given that Tottenham have got a stadium that's probably modelled on one of those stadiums, but I feel like again it's the soul of football. I think is the thing. Is it feels you talked about it doesn't feel distant from the football, and I think it just feels like a kind of imitation of the game that we're used to watching a little bit. The football's there, but
absolutely.
Everything around it feels slightly phony.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I went to watch Miami Heat against Portland Trailblazers basketball NBA, and I couldn't relate to it at all. I thought the shopping was amazing, the sheer amount of merchandise and food courts and so on.
Yeah.
But the sport, basically the basketball, felt like very much an afterthought. And I think that anybody who's used to Bundesliga and particularly, but also a lot of non-league football in England has a completely different experience of participation and, being kind of really connected with what's going on and so on. And, it is a sad business that basically with commercialization has also come a lot of disenfranchisement of fans and of traditional supporter bases and so on. And I'm really hoping that the World Cup in Portugal, Spain and Morocco is very much more fan friendly.
Yeah. It's a good point you mentioned about the German fan, because it's well known that German clubs are far more supporter friendly than most other major leagues, and then you have fan involvement in the running the clubs, and the pricing is very sensible it remains accessible to working class people, which is something that is always leveled as a criticism against the Premier League. And the pricing, I saw that on top of the prices of the tickets, the fact that in the US they've been charging like $150 to get a train to the stadium, and when you get to the stadium, a beer is like $19 or something ridiculous. It's like, it just feels that we've got it all wrong. It is basically a machine to make money, and it's what it feels like. I was going to ask you.
I'm afraid so.
Specifically, I don't know if you've seen the stories on social media, but there's this guy, a German supporter, who's been traveling around the country. I can't even remember what the name of the guy is. He's been anonymous. Whenever he's photographed, he has a fake face, some fake hold something up in front of his face. But he's been all around the country, and he started just posting about what he was experiencing while he was there. And I remember he went to see Buc-ee's, which is this enormous petrol station, and all the kind of things he's experienced as part of being in America. But it's got really big traction in the media, and like he got invited to a country and western singer concert, and he's been flown private by somebody to go and see a match somewhere. I don't know if it's been in the German media much, but it's been all over the news here.
I have to say, you've caught me off guard there. This is something I'm not aware of, and
yeah,
I'm very, very curious to hear about that. So thank you so much. And
it's fascinating.
I have to say, you've completely caught me off guard there. I was not aware of this.
I just suddenly thought, remembered
investigative about it. Citizen journalism. It's good to hear. I'm very much looking forward to hearing this story. And I mean, there's a lot to be said. There's a term in Germany called angepasst, which basically means to be kind of, repressed and not really speaking up about what the issues are. But I think that people are voting with their feet. I mean, as I said, I'm very surprised how many people are actually attending games in the States themselves. But also Mexico, Canada, and so on. The stadiums don't look too empty. Apparently, FIFA is saying record numbers. Then before the tournament kicked off, they were saying that there was 30% of tickets unsold. So I don't really know what to believe. I mean, certainly it's not like the FIFA Club World Cup where they were giving tickets away I think you could buy 2 tickets for $10 at the FIFA Club World Cup, and still the stadiums were half empty. But then it was a very, very poor tournament overall, I think. In spite of the fact Dortmund did very well at it. I mean, innovation is good. It's good to see things changing, and there's been some rule changes as well at this World Cup. I just think ultimately it hasn't really felt like the football that we love and know. And I really hope that we won't see players getting red carded for, speaking with their hand over their mouth or whatever.
Oh, I was so shocked when they sent that guy off
Absurd.
after that. Yeah.
Totally absurd, totally absurd. And also some of the referees, I think, have been kind of pretty laughable as well. The sheer inability in terms of the English was, what can you say? I tell you what I do like as a former referee, not for very long, but I am a qualified referee. I like the name of the referee on the back of the shirt. I think that's a good touch,
Yeah.
because then the players know how to address him or what to, I think that is a good touch. There have been some certain details that definitely work, but it's just, it's putting too much structure in what is traditionally a reasonably frenetic and unstructured 90 minutes of, which is the way we like it, basically. We love the passion, we love the emotions, we love the ups and downs, we love things happening, and we love even the moments when nothing is happening, when perhaps we fans can get involved and
Yeah.
get stuck in and really make some noise and encourage it,
Yeah.
whatever.
I
I
say,
found the fans to be great here at the
yeah,
World
yeah.
Cup. Really
I think
great,
it's been
Graham.
a really good. I think the fans have been a big part of that themselves. I think they've helped to make the games interesting and everything around it
Diaspora.
as well. I sent you a link to the X account for that guy. His name's Freddie.
I'm excited. I'm
Yeah,
excited to
it's a
read about
fascinating
Freddie.
story, and you could follow it back for the last. He's been there since the beginning of the tournament, and it's a really fascinating story. And he's had, because it's become quite viral. He's had offers from all over the place to take him to places and getting tickets for
Yeah.
matches and all sorts. But yeah, fascinating story.
Excited. Yeah, I'm really excited to read about Freddie. It's a bit like that saxophonist out in Germany. I mean, everyone outside of Germany is totally thrilled and excited about him. In Germany, a lot of people don't know what his name is. So these are phenomenal. But I do love the guy, the Congo guy who's standing, the statue man,
Yeah,
Mr. Statue Man.
yeah, he's funny.
I do, Mr. Lumumba or whatever. I think he's brilliant. He's absolutely brilliant. And
He's a
yeah,
character,
I
all
mean,
right.
yeah, lots and lots of characters. It's absolutely brilliant, and I'm sure that we're going to see more of it. And as the tournament goes on, it gets deeper and more exciting, and so on. And I'm sure there'll be an opportunity to come back and discuss. But hopefully, Germany will be able to get over the next game, whatever that turns out to be. Probably Bosnia. Hopefully, we can keep going, the Germany national team, and hopefully England, with my other hat on, will also do phenomenally well. But this is certainly a different World Cup. It's a very different experience, and it's one that's leaving me a little bit knackered and tired, and at times a bit frustrated.
Yeah.
Bring on the club football. What can I say? I've already booked my tickets today for a Birmingham City game, an Arsenal game, a Borussia
Cool.
Dortmund game. I'm already
I'm
looking ahead. I'm looking forward to the summer of
yeah.
friendlies.
We've got 3 friendlies in Australia and New Zealand, including
Yeah,
Chelsea's one of them, I think. But
and you're going out,
I'm not, unfortunately. But we've got Glenn and one of our other
of
returning
course.
guests, Richard, who's in New Zealand, who are going to be
Yeah,
attending. In fact, Richard runs the Kiwi Spurs supporters, so
yeah.
he's going to be at some of the club events that are happening around the friendlies as well, and he's been invited to dinner with the manager and so on. So hoping we can get some interviews or some
Cool.
good content around that. That would be fun.
Yep, we can't. I mean, the World Cup is beautiful, but let's face it, it's club football that really
I,
turns most of us on, isn't
I'm a club over country guy all day.
it?
But they say no, it feels in the summer, right? It's that horrible period between something to focus on other than the transfer stories.
Well, yeah, I mean, we've got the European Championship in the British Isles. What is it? Coming up in a couple of years' time, and I'm sure that, like at 96, the country will get excited. And I went to a few of those games, and yeah, had a great time. And yeah, I'll definitely be up for that. And I think it's very different when it's here, when it was in Germany, or when it's here in Britain, or or in France or whatever when it's nearby. I mean, again, when the London 2012 Olympics were on, I went to loads and loads and loads of stuff.
Yeah.
Just, everything that was free, and plus a few with tickets and so on, and had an amazing time. So it's just, a bit like USA 94. It feels very far away. It feels very hyped, very commercialized, very much for an American audience. And hopefully football will come back to normality again when it's in Spain, Portugal and Morocco, which are more traditional football nations. And you know what? I was heading out to the African Cup of Nations in Morocco in December, January, and the ticket prices were phenomenally cheap. So hopefully, again, this time the tickets will be cheap for the World Cup in Morocco in particular. But, we'll just have to wait and see what comes of it, basically.
I think Glenn was looking at, I don't know which tournament it is. Is it the Euros where it's partially in England next time?
Well, that is here. Yeah, it's here. It's Ireland, Scotland, Wales.
So I think he was saying
England,
that you can buy a package of group games, and it was cheaper than buying the train ticket from New York Penn State to New Jersey to go and watch a match in the States, which was insane. But yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Listen,
well,
Ben, I think we'll call it. It's been a pleasure to have you on again. Thank you. It's been interesting to have a conversation around it with a more varied perspective. I'm very much got my alien hat on most of the time, so thank you.
Thank you. I've got my Myanmar, my Burma. I'm honouring my granddad with my Burma shirt, which I bought in Rangoon a couple of years ago, or Yangon as they call it. Burma will certainly never, ever be in the World Cup, but I can wear my shirt for you for this show. Thank you so much, Graeme. Really good, and good luck to Spurs in the new season. Who knows? Our paths will cross again.
I hope so. I will say that you never know that Burma might show, because they're probably going to expand the tournament to 128 teams, but with every team, even like San Marino and Liechtenstein will be there next time.
There's a thought. Let's hold that thought for next time.
Yeah, indeed. Thanks again. Thanks, Ben.
Bless you. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks to everyone who's listening. Please like and subscribe to the podcast to tickle the algorithm, and come on, England.
Let me be the one that you turn to, someone you can rely on closer each day. Home and away.